The small roadside cafe off Route 17 was usually quiet on weekday afternoons. The kind of place where the coffee was strong, the booze squeaked when you sat down, and the pie recipes hadn't changed in decades. A bell jingled above the door as a woman in a faded blue jacket stepped inside, holding the hand of a boy of about 10. The boy had bright, observant eyes and a worn backpack slung over one shoulder. He paused just inside, scanning the room carefully, reading faces and movements the way others listen to sounds. "Table by the window, okay," the woman said softly, signing the words at the same time. The boy smiled and nodded. Her name was Emma, his was Noah. Noah had been deaf since birth. They chose a booth near the window, sunlight spilling across the table. Emma placed the menu in front of her son and tapped gently on the page, signing with practiced ease. This wasn't something she thought about anymore, it was as natural as breathing. But years of stares, whispers, and careless comments had taught her to stay alert. Noah traced the pictures on the menu with his finger and signed enthusiastically. "Pancakes. With blueberries." Emma smiled. "Good choice." Across the cafe, the bell rang again. This time, the atmosphere shifted. A tall man in an expensive charcoal suit walked in, his voice loud enough to carry across the room as he spoke into his phone. "I don't care what the board thinks. If they want the merger, they'll do it my way." Two men followed him, equally well-dressed, equally silent. The man snapped his phone shut and scanned the cafe with visible irritation, his gaze lingering on the worn furniture and modest decor. "This place," he scoffed. "Seriously." The waitress, a young woman in her early 20s with tired eyes and a coffee-stained apron, forced a professional smile. "Table for 3, obviously," the man said sharply. "And make it quick." Emma felt her shoulders tense but said nothing. She'd learned long ago that confrontation often came uninvited. Noah glanced up, sensing the shift in mood, then back to his menu. The waitress led the men to the booth beside them. Chairs scraped, suits rustled, and the man, Richard Hale, Billionaire CEO, as Emma would later learn, settled in like he owned the place. Coffee was poured, orders were taken. Richard's impatience grew by the second. His eyes drifted back to Noah. The boy was signing animatedly now, hands moving quickly as he described something to his mother. Emma responded calmly, nodding, smiling. Richard frowned. "What's wrong with him?" he muttered, not nearly as quietly as he thought. Emma froze. Noah didn't hear the words, but he saw the change in his mother's expression. The small smile vanished. Her jaw tightened. She leaned toward her son and signed gently. "It's okay. Keep looking at the menu." Richard chuckled, shaking his head. "Unbelievable," he said louder now. "Kids who don't even know how to talk." Emma turned toward him. "My son is deaf," she said clearly. "Please mind your business." Richard blinked, then laughed as if she'd told a joke. "Oh," he said mockingly. "So that's the excuse. Can't he read lips? Or are we just pretending this," he gestured vaguely at Noah, "is normal?" One of his associates shifted uncomfortably. "Richard, maybe let it go." Richard waved him off. "I'm talking." Emma felt heat rise to her face. Years of patience, of swallowing comments for the sake of peace, pressed hard against her chest. "You have no right to comment on my child," she said. Richard leaned back, crossing his arms. "You know, if you want him to survive in the real world, you should force him to talk. Coddling him like this won't help anyone." Emma's hands trembled. She turned back to Noah and signed quickly. "Finish choosing your food." Noah looked between her and the man, confusion clouding his face. He signed slowly. "Is he angry?" Emma swallowed. "He's just rude." Richard leaned forward, voice dripping with arrogance. "Hey, kid," he said loudly, exaggerating every syllable. "Can you hear me?" The cafe fell silent. Emma stood so fast her chair screeched against the floor. "Do not speak to my son like that," she said, her voice steady but tight with emotion. Richard smirked. "Relax. I'm just trying to help. Someone needs to teach him how the world works." That's when the waitress returned. She'd been watching from behind the counter. She'd seen the way Emma's hands shook, the way Noah shrank slightly into the booth, eyes darting between faces he couldn't hear. She placed the coffee down with a little more force than necessary. "Sir," she said calmly, "I need to ask you to lower your voice." Richard looked up at her, surprised. Then amused. Excuse me, you're disturbing other guests, she continued, meeting his gaze without flinching. And you're being disrespectful. Richard laughed. Do you know who I am? The waitress didn't blink. No, and I don't care. One of the associates coughed, trying to hide a smile. Richard's expression darkened. I could buy this place without blinking. Maybe, she replied evenly. But right now, you're just a customer. And customers don't get to insult children. The cafe remained silent, all eyes on the booth. Noah watched closely, reading the tension in their faces. He tugged gently on his mother's sleeve and signed. Mom, are we leaving? Emma looked down at him, her heart aching. Before she could answer, the waitress turned slightly and signed something. Noah's eyes widened in surprise. She signed again, slowly, clearly. You are welcome here. Noah smiled. Richard stared at the waitress, stunned. You know sign language. She nodded. My sister is deaf. Something shifted in the room. Richard scoffed, but the confidence in his voice faltered. This is ridiculous. The waitress straightened. What's ridiculous is a grown man mocking a child. She leaned closer, her voice low but firm. Finish your coffee, or leave, but if you say one more word to them, I'll ask you to go. Richard opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time since he'd entered the cafe, he had nothing to say. Emma slowly sat back down, her heart pounding. She met the waitress's eyes and mouthed, "Thank you." The waitress smiled softly and nodded. Noah looked up at his mother and signed, curious. What happened? Emma smiled through tears and signed back. Someone stood up for us.